Effective self-organized team traits, the team challenge, developed by Sriram Rajagopalan for agile training champions. In the earlier session, we discussed the various business challenges that constrain today's team environment. These challenges manifest in different ways for the teams to collaborate and communicate. To understand these challenges, let us take a journey back into time, exploring some of the strengths and challenges of generational thinking. We will then look into those national cultures and the 5 dimensions that underscore the individual and team traits. While there are always exceptions to these generalizations, these are worth to understand what goes in the minds of the team members. Generational thinking, traditional group. This group was those members born before 1945 that witnessed world wars and the subsequent Great Depression. Maintaining a decent living was their primary focus due to the economic hardships that had characterized this period. So they worked hard and were very detailed in their approaches to safeguard the safety nest they had built. They sacrificed themselves to maintain their living and were uncomfortable when put in difficult conflict situations. They had no interest in technology and find great difficulty working with diverse culture. Baby boomers. This is the group that were born during 1945 to 1964 and mostly made up of those that began to live in a post-World War era. Economic prosperity was not at its best, but industrial automation began to flourish. Massive movement of workers was impractical due to the transportation challenges, and the economic expansion was predominantly through foreign direct investment. Workers consisted of the same nationality and were co-located in the same place. Learning from their parents, who preached the safety net thinking, this group mostly operated under the notion of my boss knows the best. So they had difficulty receiving praise or pricing others because they thought it was their job. They were good at what they did and were willing to work long hours without any complaint. They often had moms at home taking care of family. Their expectations of the team and management were often clear. Faced with multi-income needs, they often find difficulty seeing team members' work-life balance and prefer not to give jobs away to systematic automation or through outsourcing. Generation X. As organizations became multinational and travel became commonplace, this group began to see families break apart. As a result, this group of Generation X members, born during 1965 to 1980, was willing to redefine work as they focused on shaping their future. They belonged to the "who says my boss knows the best" group that challenged the status quo. They preferred more open communication and despised office politics. Organizations were not getting flatter at this point, but continued to be very hierarchical. And so without proper soft skills, this group may come across as resilient sometimes. They were often thought of as to looking to jump the ship in troubled times, or questioning how working on a project or putting long hours will benefit them. This group was technically good, willing to work long hours on innovative approaches, and needed motivation to sustain themselves. Generation Y. The earlier Generation X has protected the Generation Y members born after 1981 substantially in a regulated world, protecting their future. You can see the increasing after-school activities for today's academic children. So they are inherently good in managing multiple priorities and prefer not to think sequentially. They are strong in technology and are used to short messages which lead to communication barriers. Their communication may be construed as vague and not respectful. However, they have a great exposure to diversity from their school environment and are accepting of workplace diversity. Their impetus from their parents of being the best that you can be seen in their constant drive to unlearn and learn new ways of doing things. This same drive may at times put them at a risk of expecting their benefits of career promotion or compensation too soon. National culture. Geert Hofstede in 1983 was a seminal thinker who studied the cultural dimensions of more than 70 countries over several decades to identify 5 major dimensions. He gave specific details about every national culture, providing insights into how individuals and team members may impact the virtual distributed team environment. In today's business environment, it is strongly recommended not to stereotype a peer worker in any country based on these grounds, because business travel has also bridged these gaps. Nevertheless, understanding these dimensions unlock potential for understanding people and their constraints as team forms, storms, norms, and performs to deliver on the larger business goals. Power distance. This is an index measuring how much inequality can be accepted in a particular society. Higher power distance means more unequal distribution of power, translating into influence and authority. Teams that come from a society with a higher power distance may have a hierarchical structure. For instance, in order for projects to succeed, there needs to be a balanced matrix organization where people can be procured to form a dedicated team. Decision making may mostly be delegated to a higher authority, and such teams may typically require the project manager, team leader, or the functional manager to tell them what needs to be done. On the contrary, teams in societies with lower power distance may prefer flatter organizational structures where anyone can provide an innovative solution. Group thinking is preferred over individual ideas. For example, team members in Malaysia may expect to have decisions made for them, unlike team members in the USA. Individualism. This index measures the degree to the strong ties one has within community. Members from the societies with high individualism may place a higher value on time and privacy. Working late or getting called for work during a weekend or during a personal vacation time may not be welcome, and such members would generally expect rewards back to compensate for lost personal time. Such members may ask to summarize crisply in a few bullets what a team leader expects to do for the team member. On the other hand, members coming from the low individualism index may be very enthusiastic and express an interest to being an expert in a chosen field. Their interest to solve a problem may be more, but they will yield to age and power to seek direction. For instance, team members in the USA or UK may be more inclined to an open debate than members from Asian countries like India. Masculinity. This index refers to the degree of how much the society is rooted in the traditional male and female roles. Team members that belong to a society of high masculinity may have distinct views of what each gender should do and be responsible for. This pattern of thinking will differ among the members of low masculinity, where differentiating responsibilities by gender will be deemed inappropriate. Therefore, team leaders or resource managers with high masculinity index society may object to having specific female member of the team stay late or come early. An example would be that when opening up a branch office in Japan or in some parts of the United Arab Emirates, a male leader is preferred. A similar business expansion in Sweden or in the USA will unquestionably consider a woman to lead the group. Uncertainty avoidance. This index is an extent of the risk-taking and the anxiety felt by the team when presented with an unknown situation. Members avoiding uncertainty or with high uncertainty avoidance prepare to mitigate or transfer risk by using carefully designed processes and putting emphasis on the non-verbal gestures. At the other end of the spectrum, the team from the societies preferring a low uncertainty index may be willing to embrace change either formally or informally. So long as there is a request, they may not be willing to move forward. Examples might include evaluating confidence based on how well they establish eye contact, wondering how much of the knowledge transition has been present with virtual team members, and checking frequently, leading to concerns of micromanagement, and putting detailed process in place to proactively avoid project failures. Long-term orientation. This measure relates to how much the society holds on to long-term values. This measure may unfold on the high scale in terms of more value based on education and certification. They will be slow to introduce change. At the opposite extreme, team members may make quick judgments in the name of transparency and introduction of change. For instance, while a member with high long-term orientation may take time to know why a particular holiday like Easter is celebrated, another member from the low long-term orientation may be quick to turn away another member by asking why people in the digital era still believe in the death of demons celebrated with a Diwali festival in India. Milestone reached. Charles Kettering, a well-known American inventor, once said, "A problem well stated is a problem half solved." Up until now, we have covered the landscape of business and team challenges. To look further into today's collaboration needs. Today's market space is no longer controlled by what suppliers can give. Customers are helping to redefine product development. We are now facing a demand pull to differentiating ourselves to and attracting ourselves and retaining the customers, instead of a supply push where customers were once left with no option but to consume what was produced. To reiterate, customers today demand more, of better quality, faster than usual, and cheaper than the competition. Losing customers' voice in product development or project management is a definite prescription for failure. At the same time, technology sophistication has shrunk the global workforce, spanning not only time zones and culture, but also multiple generations due to the economic landscape of various countries. A peer co-worker may be a team leader halfway around the globe with access to the same collaboration tools, and may be many times younger, making communication of information difficult. Besides, devices such as smartphones and tablets make access to information readily accessible. It is as though the work always follows us. These paradigm shifts are creating tidal waves, questioning the conventional approaches to team management. Product and project teams have to embrace scope changes to meet client needs, but use creative means to control scope creep. Ignorance is no longer a bliss, but perceived as an excuse for the client-facing teams, emphasizing the needs for effective models of collaboration. In the next session, we will explore some of the models of such collaboration. Then, we will introduce an effective model and its characteristics traits.